Hey everybody, what's going on? It is Lauren DeLisa Coleman bringing you all the scoop from behind South by Southwest, the film festival portion of this massive conference. And I am so glad to bring another filmmaker to you right now. I have with me Zaida Pirani, who is the filmmaker behind El Carrito. And I'm excited about this because I think that you're part of a larger trend, and I can't wait to get into this as we speak. But anyway, guys, join me in welcoming her. Zaida, thank you so much for taking out the time because she's still there, boots on the ground at the festival, and I can't wait to hear all about like kind of your impressions as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
let's talk first about the film. Can you give
Mhm.
us a synopsis of El Carrito?
Yeah, so El Carrito is about a street vendor in Queens, New York, who, is struggling to get by. She takes care of her elderly father. And one day, an unfortunate thing happens to her, and she's forced to take a leap of faith or be resigned in her position forever.
So let's talk about this. So first of all, let's kind of clarify location because I am in New York, and I will say I'm a New Yorker after being here for so long. Shout
Yeah,
out to New York, and this takes
yeah.
place in Queens, and so I just have a bunch of different questions for you. I guess first of all, how this kind of just came to you as a story, what kind of drew you to it, and then I'd love to hear what the experience was like working like on the street with these street vendors because in a lot of your statement you said that it was important for you to be able to include those who are really doing the day to day of this character that you are kind of bringing to life for us. So tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about all of that as a mix.
Yeah, so my background's actually in community organizing. And I have been living and working in the neighborhoods in the film that you see for about, at least 15 years. And so I just have a lot of friends in the street vendor community, working with street vendor organizations. And if several years ago, I made a documentary short called Judith, Portrait of a Street Vendor. And when I would go out with Judith, I would basically she would constantly talk about this concern she had of her cart getting stolen. It was like a constant concern. And then I'm a big fan of Italian neorealism. And so I took that conceit from Bicycle Thieves of the Stolen Bike, and thought, okay, what happens if we apply it to the modern day, like immigrant woman who's struggling on the street and she's untrusting? And so what is her journey look like? And so that was the idea behind the film. And yes, it was very, very important to me that talk about this film. It's the way we talk about it is that it was a community collaboration. So we actually, it's shot in the community. Everything's shot on location, meaning there's no sets. It's all shot in the streets. Or also the residents of Corona and Jackson Heights in Queens welcomed us into their homes, into their businesses, and some of them even were, performers in the film. They played roles as non-actors. And then one of the most important elements for me was that we worked closely with the street vendor community. So Judith, I shared scripts with her and, got her feedback. And then we had, street vendors who basically donated everything for the production. So everything you see on screen is like stuff that real vendors use because they let us borrow it.
Nice.
And then we had Sonia Perez, who is a street vendor and a leader with this organization called Street Vendor Project, who was on set with us, and she was sort of being a creative consultant. Our actress Ellie Zavala worked with Judith, would go out and sell tacos with her. And then my production designer actually runs the Street Vendor Project, which is a nonprofit organization that does work with street vendors. And she was a production designer, and she'd never done production design in her life. And I think she did a fantastic job. And we did that, one, because authenticity is very important, but two, the street vendors were really excited about telling the story, and they were excited about being part of telling their story. So yeah, it's very special, this film, in that way.
Well, I mean, I just love all of this, and I think it's just so cool how you have taken your background as a community organizer and applied this to film. And of course, why not? Because what a perfect medium to be able to organize
Yeah,
people and then to be able to
yeah.
message. But I have not really seen anybody just yet, at least in our series,
Yeah.
who has done this. How did you make that leap, though, Zyda, in terms of like the tech part of it, though? Did you just like grab a red at some point and say, well, let me just like fool around with this and see, or what?
No, no, I actually, so after transitioned into filmmaking, I attend actually UCLA, their MFA directing program. And so that's where I've learned all my
Okay.
production skills. And then I had, because my goal was also to just create a very rich cinematic experience, high production value. So I actually brought two worlds together. So the community organizing in the community world, but then also my filmmaking production world. And so I had people that my collaborators who have tons of experience in the filmmaking world, my DP and my first AD come out of that. So it was really these two worlds coming together. And I think that's what made it possible is these two worlds coming together. And one has experience in one and one has experience in the other, and blending those two. And because I have experience in both, I was able to sort of
Be
make
that
that
bridge.
connection. Yeah. Yeah. So that
Oh, cool.
because the goal is to create a very high production value film that where you have a cinematic experience where you're taken into a world that you wouldn't otherwise have the chance to experience.
So interesting. I mean, I'm just thinking about like several different things. I want to just touch on the fact that first of all, that I'm starting to see more films about immigrants and their vital role that they play, and whether it's street vendors. I have an interview coming up with a filmmaker about a film of immigrants and their food trucks, and this type of
Mm.
scenario, it's like seems to be growing, and I'm really glad because we
Mm-hmm.
all walk by these people or interact with them or whatever, but don't really think about their lives, where they
Yeah.
came from, where they're going. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
just seem like they're there because nobody has ever really taken the time to bring their voice to the forefront. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like now there's something happening here, and I'm
Mm.
really excited to see more of what comes
Mm-hmm.
about and how it makes a kind of impact. So let's talk about like this film being at South by. When you were shooting it and all, did you have thoughts and like a strategy of, okay, I'm gonna like go after these film festivals and like show it here and here and here, and
Mm-hmm.
you were kind of assuming or hoping that you would show this at South by, or how did that process go for you?
Yeah, I mean, South by was at the top of my list, to be honest. I have loved the films that they've introduced to the world and to wider audiences. So, for example, Short Term 12, that premiered at South by, and so many amazing actors came out of that we like now see all the time. And that first premiered at South by Southwest. And I love that film. And then there's a bunch of short films that have come out over the years that first premiered at South by Southwest. So I just love the selections of the festival. And then I've also heard, I mean, that and this is so true, I'm experiencing it now, is that there's such a unique energy that's full of actually community, which is a big theme in my film. There's such a sense of community at South by that I've experienced, and it's really wonderful. There's just a sense of like very, very high quality, talented filmmakers who are also very down to earth. And I find that the vibe here is just one of support and making connections and having fun and building community. And that's also like what my goal is right now as a filmmaker is to build community as a filmmaker. And so I feel like South by has been such an instrumental role for me to do that. So yes, so that South by has always been on the top of my list. I'm so glad we're doing our Texas premiere here, and then we have some festivals coming up as well. But this is definitely a highlight, and it's wonderful to be able to come back in person. And this is actually the 2 year anniversary of when we shot the film. So this week
Wow.
is the 2 year anniversary. Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So now a couple of things. Well, first of all, at South by, how long have you been there?
I've been here since, let's see, Thursday night.
Okay. So have you had a chance to see anything that you think is outstanding, or been to any
Yes.
events or any panel discussions?
Yes, many, many things.
What's like been a standout for you so far?
Um, I actually am not that into horror, but I've been seeing a lot of the horror films. So I went to the Midnight Shorts, which is what South by South, like it's a
Right,
big
right.
South by. It was wonderful because it's just so many genres within horror. So it's like horror, thriller, comedy, horror. And that was so much fun because that screening, first of all, the talent was amazing. Like I was just blown away at the filmmaking. And it was just fun. It was very like we were talking at the screen and we were all very engaged. And
That's
so
always fun.
it was so
Those
much
like
fun.
midnight scary things are always fun.
It's a lot
Well,
of fun.
sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an idea of fun, and then when you get there, it's like, okay, sometimes this stuff is scary, and I
For
don't know
sure.
how close or far your hotel is from where the venue is, but that part of leaving can be like
Yeah.
keep up because I'm like
Yeah.
I'm fast with certain things and really slow with others, and I have found myself sometimes behind the pack, and you're like, you know what, Lauren, keep up with the pack because there's nothing else after
Yeah, no,
this.
especially after Midnight Shorts, you
Yeah.
gotta keep up with the pack.
Yes. Yes,
But
for sure.
what's cool about the Midnight Shorts is because I don't usually, so this is what's amazing about this festival is because I don't, I usually, I do dramas, right? Like I do dramas, but I participated in something I don't usually watch. And it really inspired me as a filmmaker
Mm.
because I saw like how creative my fellow filmmakers are. And I'm just like, it just opened up my mind. And I was like, oh, this is so amazing. I love this level of creativity. It was really nice to push to see something different.
Wow, that is probably such an amazing tip. I mean, for life in general,
Yes.
right? But also as a
Yes.
filmmaker, that of
Mm-hmm.
course you've probably fallen in love with whatever genre you're working on,
Yes.
whether it be documentary, et cetera, et cetera. And to come outside of that every now and then and see how a filmmaker tackles a completely different genre
Yes.
can be
Yes.
very, as you said, inspiring. I love that.
Inspiring, and it can get the
Yeah.
creative juices flowing because I'm like, oh, maybe I can add a, because I'm very into realism and naturalism, but maybe I can add like a magical realism, you know bit to my work, so it's
Right.
very
That still
inspiring. And
like maintains integrity for you,
yeah.
your, kind of values, but also be able to add a little sparkle or something. Right.
Yes.
It's a little phantom coming out of the the food cart. No, only joking. But that I love that idea and that you are such an open person. What do you hope people like, kind of to go back now to El Carrito? What do you hope that people take away from it once they watch this film?
Yeah, so for me, it was very important to put out an immigrant story that's a little bit different than what we see most of the time. So a lot of the time, we see immigrant stories where the protagonist is really into the American dream, or it's about upholding the American dream. And I wanted to challenge that a little bit because people like Nelly, the cart represents her access to the American dream, when she, and so for me, I was like, well, what happens when we take that cart away? Because for her,
Mm.
she really believes in the American dream. And she just believes like if I just hustle enough, if I just work hard enough, I'll make it. And that's her like, that's her one track mind sort of, that's her focused vision. But in the meantime, she's like losing sight of the people around her, and she's really isolating herself. And I think, for me, the story is about her journey of discovering human connection and community and seeing it for the first time, having her eyes opened up to it. Like when she accepts that bottle of water, she's realizing, wow, these people are so compassionate towards me and they're including me in their community despite what I've just done. So for me, that was a very important part of telling this story because I think community is a big piece of the immigrant experience, but it rarely gets shown on the big screen.
Mm.
That's one of our that's one of the reasons why we're able to make it or survive, is because we have each other. And I really wanted to put that out there.
That is so amazing. I think, especially at this time now more than ever, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because we've
where you
seen
can
how much we
feel.
rely on people who we have previously thought to be invisible, and just make sure you see them or give a shout
Mhm.
out, or I just say hi when I see like all the delivery guys in the elevators in my building, and you can see them kind of like feel like, oh, it's weird, like this person is saying like hi to me, because
Yeah.
like people
Yeah, because they're
don't,
not used
and
to it.
they
Yeah.
matter, right? They
Yeah.
have
Well, we're
lives and
all
everything
human.
else. So yeah.
We're all human beings, and it's like, I think that's what I wanted to uncover is that humanity. Like we have a shared humanity, and like you were saying, it's like we don't often think about this person's life, like after we buy a tamale from them or after we receive our
Right.
delivery, and I think that was really important to me to show like that life behind the exchange, like so it's not so transactional anymore for people.
Right. I think that that's so amazing. Zaida, I can only like imagine what you're going to do next. How can we all keep up with you to, see what is going to be forthcoming? Are you active on social? Do you have a site? What's the story?
Yes. Yeah. So I post everything about my filmmaking life on Instagram. So at Zaida.Pirani is my handle. And my name is spelled Zahida.Pirani. And then El Carito is also on Instagram. We have El Carito underscore the film. And then we also have a website for El Carito. So you can just Google El Carito film and it'll pop up.
Organized as a true community organizer would do. We love this. Love it. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up, Zaida?
I don't think so. Just I'm really excited about the full audiences we've had, and the film has gotten a fabulous reception. And really, it's like my team was incredible. Like the community collaborators, the folks that were also coming from the filmmaking side. So I had a lot of support, and I'm just really grateful that it's getting the attention it is.
Just major congratulations, and I'm so glad that you could take the time to talk with us there this morning in Austin. Have a great rest of the festival. You
Thank
guys,
you.
I hope that you have enjoyed watching this interview with Zaida. And yeah, it is important to just think about like who we're interacting with every day, and how we can just like, say hi or give a smile or whatever. Because I think we've all felt invisible at some point, and it's not like a very cool feeling. So if you're able to kind of make that go away for others, just something to think about. Anyway, look out for the film. It's called El Carrito, and thank you so much for watching. I am Lauren DeLisa Coleman for the Inside series right here at Filmio.